Welcome to another edition of the Inspired Stories podcast, where leaders share their experiences so we can learn from their successes and be inspired by how they've overcome adversity. My name is Anthony Codispoti, and today's guest is Eric Soler. He is the owner of Old Scratch Pizza, a community-focused restaurant offering casual, Neapolitan-style pizzas and craft beer. Founded in 2016, this welcoming spot emphasizes quality, traditional recipes, and a friendly atmosphere. Steered by the mission to welcome everyone, they are renowned for consistency and respect for pizza traditions. Under Eric's leadership, Old Scratch Pizza has earned recognition as one of the best restaurants by Dayton Eatery, and it was named Pizza Company of the Year by Pizza Today. They've also made Yelp's top 100 pizza spots in the Midwest, and they have plans for an exciting expansion in 2026. Before running Old Scratch, Eric spent over a decade in marketing at ITW, focusing on the food service equipment sector. He brings a deep understanding of customer needs and a passion for delivering great food. We're going to hear how he built a thriving business and the challenges he faced along the way. Now, before we get into all that good stuff, today's episode is brought to you by my company, Add Back Benefits Agency, where we offer very specific and unique employee benefits that are both great for your team and fiscally optimized for your bottom line. Imagine being able to give your employees free access to doctors, therapists, and prescription medications. And here's the fun part. The program actually puts more money in your employees' pockets and the company's too. One recent client was able to add over $900 per employee per year in extra profits. Results vary for each company, and some organizations may not be eligible. To find out if your company qualifies, contact us today at addbackbenefits.com. Now back to our guest today, founder of Old Scratch Pizza, Eric Soler. I appreciate you making the time to share your story today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for the great introduction. You make us sound awesome. I love it.
I think you are, and I want to hear more about that.
I think we are too, and I'm excited to talk about it.
One correction I want to make is that you guys are recognized as one of the best restaurants in Dayton by Eater. I think I said by Dayton Eatery.
Eater.com, yeah.
Eater.com. Okay, great. Yeah. I wanted to clear that up. Okay, so before we talk about how awesome Old Scratch Pizza is, tell me what first drew you into the culinary space.
I started fairly young. I started working I kind of age myself because I say that my first job in the restaurant world was at Subway. And that was when we were really excited that Subway was coming to town. You know, I lived in a small town in Michigan, and we're like, oh my God, we're getting a Subway, which is like not that big of a deal anymore. But it was a big deal back then. And I was 15 at the time, and I just kind of, latched onto restaurants. And honestly, I was not a great student. My parents wanted me to go to college. I went to college, and I showed them. I flunked out my first semester, and I went back and started working in restaurants again. And eventually I did. And so eventually I convinced my parents, and I went to culinary school when I was 19, and everything clicked for me. Yeah. Everything was just, it made sense. And it's just what I've been doing ever since.
So started out with the excitement around first Subway in your small town in Michigan.
Yes. I was a sandwich artist.
Yeah. And a sandwich artist. I love that. Yep. And I remember, here in Columbus, Ohio, when I first came to town back in 92, there was a Subway, and I'd never seen anything like it before. And I'm like, this is amazing. Yeah. Telling my friends back home about it. And I get it. Like the initial excitement back then, long time ago, it was pretty cool. Yeah. Okay. So then you went to culinary school, not great in sort of a traditional education environment, but something clicked about culinary.
Yeah, I ended up with a degree. I have an associate's degree in culinary arts and a bachelor's degree in food and beverage management. So I went to culinary school for a while. I went to culinary school, went out, worked in kitchens for 3, 4, 5 years, went back to school to get a bachelor's degree in food and beverage management. And, I've sort of been in consulting and then corporate marketing, and then this ever since then.
So let's talk about the corporate marketing. You had a substantial role at ITW.
Yeah,
I was in food service equipment sector. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I worked for several of, ITW is a parent company of several of the brands that people in the restaurant industry know. Hobart, which is mixing and food preparation, Vulcan Range, which is stoves, fryers, things like that, Carlson Refrigeration. And I had many roles, but ended up in director of marketing for the ITW Food Equipment Group. So I was sort of in charge of brand level marketing for most of those brands. So web, trade show, press, all the go-to-market marketing. So I did that for about 10 years before I started Old Scratch.
And you had a good job in a nice corporation,
Yeah,
steady
yeah,
paycheck.
yeah, yeah.
Why fly out on your own? Where did the idea for Old Scratch come about?
I mean, you know, so I didn't open Old Scratch till I was, let me see, till I was 44, maybe a little bit late in life for opening your first restaurant. But, I always joke that I was a wantrepreneur.
Uh-huh.
Like I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wrote business plans for fun, and kind of still do. And I just had this idea, I mean, honestly, this probably happens to a lot of people. I mean, I had a bachelor's degree. I had an unconventional entry into the world of corporate marketing with my background. And, I mean, in what was actually happening around me was that people who started to get hired into similar roles in the larger organization, younger than me, had master's degrees, MBAs, and I did, and I just didn't know where my future was going. But primarily, I just had an idea that I couldn't get out of my head. I started down a path of wanting to, I used to travel a lot for work. And when I would go to different cities, and I had this idea about pizza. Every time I was in a city, I'd go to 3-4 pizza places in a night to try and get, see how other people were doing pizza places. Even though pizza is a super crowded market, I thought there was an opportunity. And then, I mean, how did we come with the idea for Old Scratch? Everybody, there's some saying out there, I don't know it exactly, but most good entrepreneurs are thieves. We're just stealing other ideas and repackaging them in new ways. We're borrowing. Yeah, we're borrowing these ideas and repackaging them in new ways. And there was a place, I mean, the first one I saw was a place in Atlanta called Antico Pizza. It's kind of famous. And they had these big wood-fired ovens, and they had sort of picnic tables in the room. It was class sort of C real estate, industrial real estate. And I just fell in love with it. I saw another place in Nashville that was similar. And when I saw them, they had these big, long, like communal picnic tables. And then as soon as I got this idea in my head, I said, Neapolitan pizza beer hall. And as soon as I had that idea, like that, I saw these, I'm like, they didn't have full bars. Actually, Antico at the time was bring your own BYOB. And I thought, this looks like a beer hall, looked like a German beer hall. Yeah. And I thought, old Neapolitan pizza beer hall. So we have a similar vibe today. We have relatively large restaurants between 6,000 and 8,000 square feet.
That's huge for a pizza shop.
Yeah, they're big. We have large communal tables, a lot of big tables that seat 10, 12 people. We have 3 big Neapolitan ovens right on the edge of the dining room, right in the kitchen, right in the dining room. In all of our locations, we have 20 taps of beer, 6 taps of wine. So it's just
you have wine on tap too.
Yeah, it's just a big, friendly, family-oriented environment. I mean, in the beginning, when I first opened, it was like downtown Dayton. I thought it was going to be, I don't know, urban hipsters. I don't know how many of those we have in Dayton, Ohio, but I had this vision. It was like college kids. But as it turned out, we're a family place. Okay. Your customers find you.
Uh-huh. And what do you think it is that draws families in? What are they really attracted to there?
I think it's a variety of things. I think we've got a great, the way we do our kids' pizza, we sort of squish it and it comes out looking like, as I always say, a non-trademarked mouse. When it comes to the table. So it's like mouse ears. Kids love the way the pizzas come out. We give away free ice cream, which I'd like to talk about at some point, and why we do that. These big communal tables, really, the big communal tables made it so that when I first started, I said, oh yeah, we're going to have these communal tables. Everybody said, you know what? People don't want that here. People Maybe in
That's what I
Europe,
would think.
maybe in
Yeah.
Europe that works, but it did a couple of things. One thing it did is if you have big family, 10 to 12 people, and you need someplace to go where you know you're going to be able to get in, you know everybody's going to like all the food. It's a fun environment. Like you don't have a lot of options. And
Mm.
so it just, and doesn't matter if it's that or it's a sports team or it's a work party or whatever. Like this sort of big party environment is just something that I think created success and it made it successful for us.
And as you've been talking here, Eric, I've been checking out your website. You've got some, a handful of really great pictures from each location. And it's exactly as you described, like big, like open air ceilings. Yeah, lots of like longer seating options, bar. I see these beautiful, wood-fired ovens. Is this a drive up at one of them? There's somebody's like holding a beer out of a window.
Yeah, well, we do have a like a that you're probably looking at our Beaver Creek location. We have a window that opens from the bar onto the patio. So
okay.
Yeah, so that's like
that makes a lot more sense than somebody serving a beer to like an open air beer to like a car coming through the drive-through.
Yeah, I think you have to live in Montana for that to work. I think they have some weird laws there like that.
Well, this is beautiful. Yeah. So tell me about the free ice cream. How did that get started?
Well, one of the things we started early on, it was really kind of my wife's idea. You're thinking about a pizza place, you want dessert. We actually we have soft serve ice cream. You can get any flavor you want as long as it's vanilla, and it's technically free. But 100%, we call it cones for a cause, and 100% of donations go to charity. And so far to date, we've given we just crossed $300,000 that we've donated to charity just from ice cream. So, and the more the locations that we get and the more that we grow, the more impact that has. And that has been it's been a total unlock for the business right from the beginning. I mean, in addition to obviously, it's great for the community. Employees get behind it. It's fun because we have these big money boxes at the front of the bar, so you can have it's all counter service. So there's one line for food and there's one line for adult beverages. But in that same line for adult beverages are also kids who are waiting for ice cream because the same bartenders get ice cream and they also get beer for adults. And so it's just that like is another thing that kind of ensures this like family friendly, everybody's included environment. So we have a foundation that we started called Cones for a Cause, and we give away money to sort of micro grants throughout the course of the year to all kinds of a lot of it around food insecurity, homelessness. There's a lot of different causes that we're focused on. So that's a big thing for us.
Yeah. Tell me what it means to serve or to be Midwestern-ly Neapolitan. Well,
I hope that it's something that I said a long time ago. We started putting it on our t-shirts, and I hope that people can envision what it means. I'll tell you a real quick funny story. I was at the International Pizza Expo, and there was a guy, Scott Wiener, who's a big guy in the pizza world. And he was giving a talk. There was like 400 people in the room giving a talk about new styles of pizza. And during the presentation, he put us up on the board with this Midwestern-ly Neapolitan thing. And I gasped. I'm like,
that was his word. He came up with that. His term.
No, I came up with it. It was an article. It was an article about us. And he put it up on the board and said, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is somebody who has said, and he'd never talked to us before. He just read the article. And it is basically that we are taking Neapolitan traditions. If you were to become certified for Neapolitan pizza, which is a thing out there in the world, we would meet that certification. We would meet that requirement. But the only word that's Italian on our menu is margarita. right? There's no other Italian words on the menu. It's everything about it. You can get chicken bacon ranch pizza, but it's cooked in the style in a way they would have in Italy,
And
in
so what does that
Naples.
mean to be a Neapolitan pizza then? What's that
Well,
criteria?
Neapolitan pizza, in the traditional Neapolitan sense, you have to the regulations. There's an organization in the world that regulates Neapolitan pizza, and you can pay to be a member, certified by it. We don't, but you can. And Neapolitan pizza traditionally has 4 ingredients for the dough. It's water, flour, yeast, and salt. That's it. It's naturally fermented. You have to use a particular style of oven, either wood or technically now you can use gas, that is of a temperature around 800 degrees Fahrenheit. They have to be cooked in somewhere around 90 seconds in the oven.
So the idea is that this oven is so hot that the dough cooks quickly, and there's certain texture, crispiness to it. Okay.
Texture. And actually, one of the things that's interesting about what we do is why we call it Midwestern-ly Neapolitan. If you go to Naples and eat Neapolitan pizza, it is so soft. I mean, it is. They don't cut it. I mean, it's served with a fork and knife in most places when you eat it. We try to add, the way we formulate our dough, we add a little bit more structure to it. Most people don't want floppy pizza in the Midwest. I mean, they want sort of crisp, you can pick it up. Ours is softer than most, but we're trying to build a pizza that, people in the Midwest want to eat. Crispy, delicious, but we do it with, we have organics, where you have organic tomatoes. We have the finest cheeses. I mean, all of our ingredients are top quality. We have no freezers. We have no microwaves. Everything is made from scratch. Every dressing, every sauce, everything's made from scratch. So it's just, we're trying to do the best version of what we can.
Tell me about the Angry Beekeeper pizza. That's quite a name.
Yeah. So we, years ago, that was on our first menu. The very first menu was the Angry Beekeeper. And, again, we borrow ideas at that time, it was 2016 at the time. There were some people out there that were starting to experiment with hot honey. It's kind of like everywhere now. Everybody's got hot honey on their menu now, but 10 years ago, it wasn't as big of a thing. There was a guy, Paulie G in Brooklyn, who actually had a location in Columbus. He's kind of started that whole thing, and we wanted to do a variation of that, make our own hot honey. So we started a hot honey brand. We sell hot honey in our stores as well as in.
And what makes it hot? Are you just like dropping in
our version? In our version, it's Calabrian chilies. So that's sort of like the Italian version of it. We steep honey in Calabrian chilies from Italy and garlic, which gives it this very sort of spicy, sweet flavor. We put, and what an Angry Beekeeper is basically a margarita pizza, classic pizza, which is, crushed tomatoes, fresh mozzarella, basil, olive oil, very simple cheese, Italian cheese pizza. We add a spicy soppressata, which is a spicy salami, and then we drizzle it with spicy hot honey, house-made hot honey at the end. So it's sort of our signature pizza. It's the best seller. Some weeks it's pepperoni pizza. Most weeks it's Angry Beekeeper is the top seller though.
It's a great name in addition to a great culinary concept.
Yeah, on the back of our bottles of hot honey, it says, just says made by one Angry Beekeeper. So.
I like that. So how did you scratch together enough money to open up the first location?
I think that for me, everybody has a different story about how they did that. And I didn't have enough money to do it. And but I had, one of the things I'd say that I had was I had a large social group. And from being a professional in our city for a long time, I had a large social group, I had a large network of friends. And I talked about opening a restaurant a lot. And a friend of mine, one of my close friends, and I was always complaining about money. And he's like, I guarantee you that's not going to be a problem. Like, people, and there are people with money, and they'll give it to you. And I'm a very detailed person, and I wrote a highly detailed plan with lots of data, lots of spreadsheets and a presentation. And because of my marketing career, I used to have to do presentations and pitches all the time. And so I was sort of good at that. And I went out, I went to 3 people who I knew well. One of the people introduced me to somebody else. Somebody else introduced me to somebody else, and I pitched 5 times and 5 people said yes.
What?
And so
that doesn't happen. You realize that, right, Eric?
I know. And so
I was just at a big event with a lot of venture capital, people raising money, and that kind of hit rate is they would laugh. They wouldn't believe it.
We just did another round because we're going to grow, and a similar thing happened. So we're just, but again, I credit it. Obviously, we've proven ourselves now, but I credit it to you can't do too much planning. I mean, once you plan, you got to live within. You got to go live in the world, and things change. But planning is the key. Creating a great plan is really the key.
Well, I think the other key
success.
that we're sort of uncovering here is the power of your network. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I was also 43-year-old professional with a respectable job who had years of experience. And the thing about opening a restaurant to this day, I talk to a lot of people who want to open a restaurant, and it is, everybody in the world knows how tough of a business it is. But the thing that you don't realize when you open a restaurant is it has something to do with food, right? But it also has something to do with just general business operations. It has to do with facilities. It has to deal with vendor management. It has to deal with math. It has to do with motivation. There are so many, it has to do with marketing. So when you're a small restaurant and your first restaurant, you have to be everything. You're in charge of marketing. You're in charge of financials. You're like any other small business operator, except for it's one of the most complex businesses out there with so many moving parts. And so, I just think it took for me to really find something that I was good at and to be successful at. I mean, it took me to have a culinary degree, have a food and beverage management degree, have some years of experience at it, then 10 years of corporate marketing, and also understanding, the bigger one is ITW is a world-class manufacturing operation. And in essence, that's what a restaurant is. We take raw goods, we add value to them, and we deliver finished goods, right? And so thinking about all sorts of things that I learned in the corporate manufacturing world about that I apply now to how to run a restaurant, just for me, it took me that long. There are a lot of people I see that are young, have less experience than me that just crush it and they do a fantastic job. But for me, that's what it took. It took me to have the confidence of all of those different skill sets in order to make a restaurant work.
So you had a really good foundation of skills from the experiences that you'd had, the degrees that you had earned. But you start this business. It's the first time that you're owning and running your own business. What was maybe the biggest surprise to you? Like, oh, here's an area that I need to level up and fast.
Well, in the beginning, when I was running the restaurant, I'm very well suited for what I'm doing right now, which is managing multiple restaurants. I am not a great individual restaurant operator. I do fine at it, but I am too quickly moving on to something else. Like I am and what I had to learn how to do is focus. Like I had to learn how to, okay, I can't move on from this thing. I can't, whatever this issue is that's in front of me, I just have to grind every day and do the job of a restaurant operator, even though I want to be thinking about, I want to be thinking about this marketing idea that I have, and maybe we'll start a new restaurant. And if we had this new menu item and all of these things, there's so many detailed, structural, step-by-step processes that have to happen every day in a restaurant that are not in my nature. And really focusing in on that was something that was hard for me.
And that makes a lot of sense. Even though you took until, your 40s to become an entrepreneur, it's clear that spirit was in your blood. And what you're talking about, like the problem of focus is such a classic, like entrepreneurial trait, right?
Yeah.
Like one of the things that makes us really good at what we do, it can also be an Achilles heel of like, oh, I've got this idea and I want to move on to this thing and create this other.
Well, one of the techniques I use is I go to my staff. There was something I had an idea about something about dough fermentation this morning. And in the morning, I had the idea, called a vendor, called a refrigeration specialist that I knew to see if this thing was possible, and then got on a call. And I just had another call with my team, and I'm trying to explain it. And I have to say, I just want you to be clear that I'm just talking about something. Yeah. Like, I'm not saying we have to do anything. I'm just telling you, because I just have this way of, I just have to talk through all of these ideas that I have, which is, and it can be exhausting for the team.
I'm glad you said that word. It's exactly what I was thinking of. I've been guilty of this myself in the past. A lot of other people I've talked to. And here's a process that I've kind of implemented for myself. I'd be curious to hear if you've ever tried anything like this, or if you think it would be helpful. Yeah. Oh, so I got this new great idea. Before I go and I talk to anybody about it, I have to write it down or type it out, whatever.
Yeah.
That process of writing it down, typing it out, helps me flush out like, oh, there's a hole here, there's a hole here. Just helps me kind of think through the process of it more, kind of see where the gaps are. If I get through writing it all out, top to bottom, somebody could read this, it would explain everything to them, and I still feel good about it, I stick it in a drawer for a week. 1 week timer goes. And if I come back to it a week from now and it's still a good idea, something I'm excited about, then I approach my team about it.
They'd probably love that.
Yeah.
I
saw the look on your face as I'm talking about that, and you're like, "Oh, I don't think I could." Do
I was
that.
with you until you said, "Hold on to it for a week," because the thing is, I could use some discipline. I could definitely use some discipline in that area because I do have, I have a lot of ideas, and but I think that and one of the things that I don't know, everything we have is, all of our traits are strengths and weaknesses. And there was one of the personality type indicators that we were working on, a consultant I was working with said, your weaknesses are often your strengths overused, and
interesting.
And one of my strengths and weaknesses is just when I have an idea, just such a confidence that it is right, and so it's not about confidence. It's just like an intuition that this thing is right. And so usually when I'm talking to my team, I'm selling, I'm usually selling ideas all the time, right? As opposed to like trying to get consensus. And, it's more, which is also a weakness, right? The strength is that I know that this thing is going to work. Like I just have a gut reaction. Usually it's in the business, it's usually right. The weakness is that and I have people in my group, in my organization that can say, hey, hold on. Like,
that's great. You got sort of a check and balance built in. Yeah.
Yeah. Every team needs gas and brakes.
Yep.
And
so what percentage of the time do you go to your team confidently with an idea that later on you're like, I probably shouldn't have done that?
Well,
or does that not happen? Because by the time you go to them, you're ready and
I'm usually ready.
Okay.
But often there's something, because the farther away from daily operations you get, the more you might be missing something that somebody who's like one of our operations managers will say, yeah, but there's this thing that happens in the course of that process that, we have to address that. Like if you want to do this thing you want to do, we got to address this other issue first. So there's a lot of that goes on, right? Yeah. It's never like I just come in with some idea and it's like, all right, let's move forward with.
So let's talk about one of these entrepreneurial skills, the positive traits. As you mentioned that there's growth coming. Tell us about that, because that doesn't happen in a vacuum without strong leadership to say, hey, We went from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. Now we're ready to go to 5. Is that what I'm hearing?
So we're making the next big jump, which is that, we're in Dayton, Ohio. The market is kind of saturated for us. We have 4 locations in this market. And so next year in 2026, we're going to open 2 new locations in 2026. One of them I can talk about. And so we're going to open in Columbus in 2026.
My backyard.
Which is where your backyard. Where what neighborhood in Columbus do you live in?
So I'm in Victorian Village, Short North area. Where are you guys going?
You're right in the heart of it all.
Yeah.
So there's a new development called True Point in Hilliard going on right on 270. So it's 300 apartment units, big new hotel, medical center, 1,000-person office complex. So, and we're going to sort of be the freestanding anchor tenant on the park at the center of the development.
So cool.
We're really excited about it. Equity Development in Columbus is who's developing the project. And we've had a great relationship so far. And we're really excited to bring this to Columbus. Like, I don't think there's anything, like, there's no city that you can go to that's short on pizza, right? Everybody's got plenty of pizza. That there's no doubt. But I think that we bring an experience that's beyond pizza. And I think we're going to do something, it's going to be really exciting. It's going to be an exciting project.
So let me ask you this. When you guys went from 1 to 2 and then again to 3 to 4, it was all in relatively the same geographic region, kind of all in the Dayton area. And so I'm going to guess that you had some name recognition, some credibility built up. So as you go into a new neighborhood, you've got, some clients or some customers that are there or have heard of you guys. And so that kind of helps. Now you're going into, Columbus isn't that far away, but, probably an hour down the road. And it's a whole new group of customers. Are you going to borrow some ideas from what you did to open your very first location in terms of how do we get the word out? How do we, fill the seats like right from the very beginning? Or what's the strategy here?
Well, first of all, we're going to do, from an operational standpoint, we're going to do exactly what we do here, right? So it's going to be the same concept. And from a seeding the market standpoint, one thing we've done over the last couple of years is we've just become way, way more sophisticated about marketing and digital marketing. And so we're using pretty sophisticated traffic data to understand exactly who our customers are and how to reach them. And then reaching them. So basically, when we go into a new market, we know exactly who the customer base is that comes to Old Scratch Pizza.
When you say that, you mean like, they're 35 to 45.
Yeah, we use like, I'm not sure if familiar with like Experian Mosaic data. If you know what this is like, Experian,
the credit.
They know everything about you.
Yeah.
And they have broken the world up into very specific demographic segments. And through other services, like we can track exactly the exact mix of the people that are walking into our restaurants and the frequency of those people. We know exactly where they live, who they are, what are their demographic profiles, how do they want to be reached by media, what are their spending habits, what are their interests. And then we can take that specific data, plug it into Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, different channels, and directly reach those customers with a message that's relevant to them. So that's part of how but we'll do all kinds of other things. You got to do influencer marketing. You've got to do, we're going to also have, as part of our deal at True Point, we're going to have large signage right on 270. So we're going to get lots of traffic every day seeing our name. It's going to take, we do a lot of paid digital media. We do very little advertising other than social media and paid digital. And we But we know that going into a new market, we're going to have to do a lot more, right? There's going to be a lot more work to introduce us to the community than we have
And
to do
so,
when we open a location around here.
and so when is the Columbus location opening? Is there a date?
Late 2026. So
Late
late summer,
2026.
probably late summer 2026.
Okay. And wait, 2026 or 2025?
2026. We're in late summer 2025 right
Okay.
now. Yeah. So it's a year from now.
Okay. And did you say there's another location coming?
There is another location that we're working on. We're in lease negotiations right now, so I'm not ready to announce it, but
Little too
we're
early
going
for
to, we're
that.
going to open 2 in 2026. That's the goal.
Are there any other, I don't know, sort of evolutions of the service and the customer experience that you're working on that you want to give voice to?
I mean, I think that in our newer locations, one of the things that limits us in our current locations is food to go just continues to grow for almost every restaurant. And actually, our facilities and the way our buildings are structured right now, there's limitations there. So I think we're going to continue to put way more effort into making pickup and third-party delivery even easier, and also increasing the operational capacity of our restaurants so that we can put through even more product during those peak hours than we can now. I mean, today we're limiting online ordering, turning off DoorDash because we just can't handle the volume during peak hours. Because it's just math. These Neapolitan ovens only fit so many pizzas. There's just a math equation, I say, yes, they cook in 90 seconds, but you might have 40 pizzas in front of you. So just because they cook in 90 seconds, you could be waiting 20 minutes for one because there's just a lot of them. So I think that I think the evolution of takeout being digital or even in-store digital. I mean, I don't know that we'll ever do kiosks or table side ordering, but I mean, all of that is happening. I mean, the young kids, the younger people that work for us, they love it. They want to order on their phone. They want to order at a kiosk. They're into it. So, but I believe in hospitality, and I think that no matter what happens with AI and kiosk ordering and ordering at the table and all of those things, people want to gather. People want to be together in a place that makes them feel good, that they feel like they're part of a community, that they feel like this is a place that's meant for them. And people will always want that. And so I think there's always going to be a place for restaurants like that.
Obviously, as we're talking here in late summer 2025, you guys have got quite a bit of momentum. 4 locations, another one coming next year, and probably another one after that, still in lease negotiations. Like, things are going well. At what point when you opened the first one, did you feel like, okay, we've really got something here? Because for some folks, it happens right away. For some folks, it takes a while. It's sort of like tweaking the dials, kind of ironing out the wrinkles before things really start to catch on.
Yeah, I mean, it happened pretty quickly. I mean, we were fairly popular from the beginning. I mean, businesses, we're doing 40% more this year than we did our first year. So, or 50%. We're doing way more this year than we did our first year. So like, business has grown and grown and grown over time. But I would say, when I first talked to initial investors and we talked about multiple locations, I would have just been happy if the first one worked. And we opened the second one about 3 years in. I mean, it took a year to be like, okay, this works. We think we have a system. We know how the system works. Looking back on it today, I feel like we were flying by the seat of our pants back then compared to how detailed in our systems and our operational standards and everything now. I mean, when I look back at the way that we ran the business back then, I mean, it was, it was a much different thing. It was a much different thing.
What do you think is the biggest change that you've made in that time?
Oh, just structure, just, standard orders of procedure, documentation, lots and lots of systems. I mean, my team is probably like, oh my God, not another app. We have apps for all of our training programs. We have apps for all of our, checklists for everything in the restaurant throughout the course of the day. We have, they're just systems for everything. I mean, that's the difference. If you want to know the difference between like, any business, I guess, but a restaurant that's kind of, in its early stages and something that's just starting to get more refined is just systems. I mean, is it documented? Do you know your costs? How often are you meeting about financials? How often, what is the process for every job in the restaurant? And then how do you measure it? Then how do you go back and measure it and make sure you're actually doing those things? What sort of system do you have for measurement? So those are really the things that make you capable of growing. And because you can grow, but you're going to go crazy. Like if you're working in the business all the time in multiple locations, trying to make things run properly, it's almost impossible to grow. And you need systems that can be monitored, can be adhered to, that people understand what they are, that can be measured, can be repeated, replicated. So that's the big difference.
And I've heard you talk a lot about your team. In today's environment, it's hard to find good folks. It's hard to hold on to good folks. What are some things that you've found success with when it comes to recruiting and retention?
Well, I mean, recruiting, we're known as a great place to work. We monitor that. We do like ENPS scores, which are employee net promoter scores, on a regular basis to understand the sort of temperature of the staff and how happy they are. And if people don't know, ENPS score is where you would just ask on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend to a friend or family member working at Old Scratch Pizza? And so just that simple measurement of whether or not people are promoting you or detracting from you. So we kind of measure that a lot to make sure that we're doing the right things. One of the things that we did, which is harder for a smaller operator, is that we, on the recruiting side, is we're very picky. We actually don't make it easy to join the company, especially for the type of employees that we're hiring. So like back in the beginning. So this is how you become more sophisticated. In the beginning, you needed a cook, or you need a runner, or you need a dishwasher, and you're kind of desperate. And the managers are going on Indeed and they're looking at all the applications, and then only so many people will talk to you. Then you get them in, and if I need a dishwasher tomorrow and this person came in today and they're available, and you're a manager and you're desperate, you're likely to hire them. Well, maybe at 3 stores, we stopped doing that. And so we have somebody whose job it is, somebody in HR whose job it is, which is kind of what bigger companies do. They just pre-screen candidates. And because the statistics for us are, if you put an ad on Indeed for an employee, let's say you get 100 applications. Maybe 20 of them meet the qualification in some way and are worth talking to. Of those, only 10 will actually talk to you. Even though they applied, you can't get in touch with them. They won't reply. Something will happen. And of those 10, really only 1 or 2 you really want to talk to. And so that's 1 to 2% of the candidates fit all of your criteria. So now we pre-screen those all of them. They have to get on a video call with a HR person, which is, in our business, is some friction. Like, we just put some friction in place to make sure you really want to join the company. And then we only send those 1 or 2 people to the store to talk to the manager. So once they've talked to the manager, we've already pre-screened them for culture. We've pre-screened them for qualifications. We've pre-screened them for kindness, which is like one of our core attributes. And then once they get in the company, you just, we try and treat them right. We try and pay them fairly. We try and be clear about their roles and responsibilities. And as a result, we have about 280 employees now. And some of them, the first employee we ever hired still works for us. And our management team, like our operations team, which is 3 people on our operations team, have been with us for 9, 7, and 6 years. So it's, we keep people around.
You're doing something right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
People enjoy the workspace.
Yeah.
So let's take a little detour for a moment, Eric. I'd like to explore a serious challenge that you've overcome in your life, whether it's personal or professional. How'd you get through that, and what did you learn?
Well, I'd say, there's a couple of things. One, we've already touched on some, is that I made a decision to, with a very good job with benefits and insurance and, all those things against the guidance of many people with a house and 2 kids and a family, to put that all on the line and start a pizza restaurant, in Dayton, Ohio, which in a questionable location, which we didn't talk about, but and the general terror that anybody feels during that period of time is just, you have to be somewhat delusional about your chances of success, and, somebody said, an entrepreneur needs to be somewhat forgetful about the past, realistic about the present, and delusional about the future, which I like that, because I think that that's true. And getting through that, waking up one day and being like, oh my God, I'm working all the time, every weekend. I'm working nights. I have no help. I have to pay for my own health insurance now. I don't have any 401k anymore. All of the things that, sort of are the measurements of success in the traditional world. All of a sudden just have that all go out the window, and have the uncertainty in your life of that, is something that, it took an emotional toil. But every time I open a restaurant now, I think
you go through that same emotional turmoil every time.
I think that there's a period of a couple months before a restaurant opens where I'm probably not, I don't know what my wife would say, but I'm certainly not 100% mentally here, and, those are tough times. And I would think that any entrepreneur, when they make some big advancement in their business, that takes a lot of risk, takes a lot of capital, takes a lot of effort and focus. I think that most people would go through that. But I think that, the other challenges that the business faces, or I personally face, is just, it's just, in some ways, it's like and I think this is probably for most entrepreneurs, is like, when asked, what is the biggest challenge to your business? It's just me, it's my personality. It's
say more about that, because obviously it's your personality, and
they got us here.
They
also,
got you
but
here, right?
But it's my impulsiveness. It's how confident I am that an idea is real, and maybe overwhelming my staff with my own confidence that they aren't able to tell me the truth, and maybe it is, that there are certain parts of the business that I probably should pay more attention to that I don't, because I have very limited focus. I'm sort of all over the board. And I always think that if I, had a partner, a lot of people have business partners, and I'm alone in this. And sometimes business partners, if one person's like a outstanding salesperson and another person's a great financial person, it's a good
balance.
And for me, I'm sort of everything. So there's, of course I have weaknesses. There are things that I'm not as good at as other things. And, so,
Have you found
those
any
things
like mentors or like peer support groups or?
I mean, I am in multiple groups. I'm in, one of the things that I find the most value in is being in groups that are uh, other restaurant operators, because it is so refreshing. I mean, and what I usually find is that what I find is that I'm so hard on myself and that nobody has this figured out. I mean, I talk to people with 50 units that don't have it figured out, right? You think like, oh, they're surely using some software system where like everything comes wrapped up together in a nice bow at the, in your financial, and it all just like feeds. No, everybody hates their payroll system. Everybody hates their back office. There's some limitation to their back office system. Nobody has a perfect way that
everybody's got duct tape behind the scenes.
Their kitchen screen doesn't give them exactly the information that they want. And so being a part of organizations, I'm on a customer advisory board for a POS manufacturer. And I meet 4 times a year with 20 other restaurateurs to talk about that. And so refreshing to hang out with those guys. And I'm on a couple of other peer groups that I meet online. And that above all is, probably the thing that helps me. And I have some friends locally when you in the restaurant business, when you have a couple, like multiple units, it sort of narrows the group of people that are doing the exact same thing you're doing. Right. And so I do have some friends of mine that are operating independent restaurants around here that we talk a lot. I have friends that are have multi-unit restaurants that we talk weekly about, different issues. So yeah, I mean, that's certainly something.
Great support system, right? Be able to share those stories. If
For
nothing else, you hear, hey, we're not alone in this. But then also a lot of times you're getting ideas on, hey, we had the same kind of problem. Here's how we solved it. Maybe there's a nugget.
This is an example of where I come in so confident about, I'm telling a friend of mine the other day about this thing that I'm going to do that I'm like so confident about. He's like, yeah, we did that 3 years ago and this is what happened. And I thought, oh, okay, well maybe I should, maybe I should think about that a little bit longer.
Yeah. And I think you highlight, one of the challenges of you're alone, like you're on an island, like you've got a great team with you, but you're the only owner, right? And so you're all things.
And everybody, almost everybody on our team came up with me, right? So they all came through the company. So we only know what we know, right? We don't know what anybody else knows. We only know what we know, right? Yeah. So, I mean, I've been in the business long enough to know a lot, but that's why I'm always trying to talk to peers because I want to know how they're doing things because we just do things how it works for us.
There's a ton of value in that.
Yeah. And what we do is not easy. One of the things I say about our business is that in some ways, as successful we've been, we have the world's worst business model. That's like a joke that I have because I say we're trying to do world-class pizza in the most difficult way possible as fast as you possibly can. Right. Which is like not a recipe for success. Like, I mean, I couldn't have had a more difficult way. There's really no more difficult way to make pizza than what we're doing. I mean, teaching 16-year-old kids to hand stretch dough, top Neapolitan pizzas, manage fires in ovens that it's not a conveyor. You don't put it on, it comes out the other side. You got to turn them halfway through. You've got to be constantly managing temperatures. They can only go to the right place. In Italy, they say, you need 10 years to become a pizzaiolo. And we teach 16-year-old kids in about 3 weeks how to do it. So,
you're stretching the laws of pizza and business physics.
Yes, you're right. Yeah. What's the whole thing about like, you can get it fast and cheap and quick, but you can't have all three. Right. It's like that kind of a rubric. You shouldn't be able to do all those things at once.
Eric, if you were going to recommend a resource for our audience, call it a podcast, a book, maybe a course, a class that you took, what's been helpful for you?
I mean, in our industry, it's about, we're very focused on hospitality. There's a book that's out recently, Unreasonable Hospitality
I just
by
read it.
Will
Yeah,
Galdarea.
it's great.
I just sent our operations, but he just did a conference in Nashville. I sent our operations director to it, and she was blown away. It was a great weekend for her. The classic is Setting the Table by Danny Meyer, of Union Square Hospitality. I mean, the resource I use as much as anything now is AI and ChatGPT. I
Mm.
mean, one of the ways you were talking about your little process of how you write stuff down. I mean, I'm not sure if this is legal or not, but anyway, when I drive in the car, I talk to ChatGPT and I have it talk through scenarios and things that I'm
Interesting.
considering and and it listens to me and and it'll tell me something and I'll say, no, don't be nice about this. Like, don't just tell me that's a good idea. Tell me why this isn't a good idea.
Ah,
And it's good. It's pretty smart. I mean, of course it's not perfect, but I mean, we use, as a matter of fact, I use AI a lot in our business. And in Columbus in October at the I guess it's the Midwestern, whatever, the Pizza Expo put on by Pizza Today magazine. There's a big conference coming up and I'm doing a presentation on AI in pizza
oh, cool.
restaurants because I just think that there's so many ways you can streamline your operations with it.
Well, and what's cool about the use case that you talked about there about talking to it in your car, I love because like a big way that I use it is like as a brainstorming partner.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
exactly what you're talking about. And I haven't thought about, hey, I got 20 minutes in the car driving my kid to football practice. I've got this idea that I'm noodling on. Why don't I
Well, this
just
is the thing. I
turn it
mean,
on?
you can, anytime you do it, it not only helps you brainstorm the idea,
Yeah.
it documents the entire brainstorm,
Yeah.
right? So now you might come to some conclusion at the end and you can go back and you can see, oh, well, this is how I got to this result, in my mind. So I find it just, again, it's an expert on a lot of things. It's not an expert on everything, but I find that it really helps me organize my thoughts.
Yeah. And
Right.
that's great. It's not an expert on everything, and not everything it gets back to you is something that you should run with, right? You have to
Right.
put it through your filter. It is just a
Absolutely.
brainstorming tool. Consider it a coworker who, they gave you an idea and it didn't sound right. So no, that's not for me.
But there's a lot of things like this speech that I'm giving at the conference. The whole idea of it is 10 things that every pizza operator can do today in
Mhm.
ChatGPT to make their business run better. And
Give me
so
one.
we're going to,
Can you give me a
the
preview?
most obvious one is like answering your reviews for you.
Mm, like
So,
that.
I mean, creating a brand voice that answers your reviews, that's that's like level one.
Yeah.
We'll get to like level 10, which is having it interpret data out of your POS system. So like that's like
Okay.
level 10, but, or level, hey, actually today was like level 5,
Okay.
but, there's a lot of things in between.
Yeah. Eric, setting aside all humility, what is your superpower?
How many times have I said confidence? It's like I just believe I like my ability to delusionally believe that the thing that I think is right is correct and is possible, right? Because I think that's the biggest thing is that when you go to your team and you say this thing that all of them, what they're thinking is, that's a lot of work. Like that's going to be a lot to implement. Like, do we really know that's going to work? To be so confident and to keep pushing the boundaries of like, is this thing I believe that we can do this thing. We can be better than we are now. Like this thing, like not settling and not settling and then being overconfident in what we should not settle on. Like I think it's that combination.
I mean, obviously anything can be taken to extremes, but I think in general, most people in the world suffer from a lack of confidence rather than too much confidence, right? And I think it's that lack of confidence that holds a lot of people back from pursuing really good ideas.
Well, I mean, it's not that I don't have a lack of confidence. I mean, I am unsure of myself all the time. But once I know something to be like, once I've worked through it, my wife will say this about me all the time. Like, I can't come to a decision unless I've really talked it through, thought it through, done a bunch of research. But once I know the thing, like once I know it, then we go out and I'm like, I'm so sure that we can make this part of our hospitality better. And if we do these three things, like we're going to get better. And I think it's that is the part of confidence that you need to have. It's like once you've done the research, you believe in the thing, to go out and sell it with confidence and be confident that it's actually possible. You know, that we can do it, you know, that all of the little things that get in our way is, you know, that we can persevere and make this thing happen.
I love that. I love that. Eric, just one more question for you, but before I ask it, I want to do a couple of things. First of all, everyone listening, pause for just a second. Go ahead and flip to your open podcast app and hit the follow or subscribe button. I want you to get more great interviews like we've had today with Eric Soler, the founder of Old Scratch Pizza. And if you take just an extra second and leave us a review or a little bit of feedback, that really helps other people find the show too. Make sure that they're getting the benefit from it as well. Eric, I want to let people know the best way to get in touch with you, to follow your story or that of Old Scratch Pizza. What is that?
You can follow us at oldscratchpizza.com as our website, Old Scratch Pizza on Instagram is a big one. Those are the big places to find us.
Okay. And we'll have links to that in the show notes.
Yep.
Last question for you, and I think I have an idea where this might go, is a year from now, you and I reconnect and you're super excited because you're celebrating something big. What's that big thing you're celebrating 1 year from now, Eric?
New restaurants.
Yeah.
You know, growth and by then having announced more. So
I love it. So growth is on the horizon.
Growth is on the horizon.
You guys are marching forward. Terrific. Well, Eric Soler, founder of Old Scratch Pizza, I want to be the first to thank you for sharing both your time and your story with us today. I really appreciate it.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it too. You have a great day.
Folks, that's a wrap on another episode of the Inspired Stories podcast. Thanks for learning with us today.